Let's build a syllabus. So the language I'm about to show you is LaTeX. And the way this language works is you put stuff into this program, Technics Center, which is what's called a compiler. Right? So I'm going to write stuff in here, and then I'm going to hit go, and then something's going to happen over here with the syllabus. You'll note that this is now a full syllabus because I was compiling before class, just to check that my code worked. Right? So right now this file is empty. You see that? Because I deleted all of it. If I hit go on this file, this happens to be the go button. Don't sweat it. I don't need you guys to learn this interface. I just want you to know that there's a go button, and then I'm going to push it. When I push the go button, some stuff occurs. Right? There are these little red things. And at the bottom, there's some, like, basically comments from the compiler that are like, yo, dude, this didn't work. You guys with me on that? 2 errors. Usually errors are bad. Sometimes the program will continue to work if there are errors in it, depending on the language and the compiler and all sorts of stuff. Sometimes you'll get something out of it, in other words. Sometimes you won't. It's fine. This happens. If you expect to go through this entire course without getting any errors, you should probably just drop and take basket weaving. You will get just a ton of errors in this class. They're not bad. They just mean that the code's not working as it's built, right? These are errors that the software compiler is catching, not necessarily all the errors. There are other errors you can make, and those are things like the program doesn't do what you wanted it to do because you didn't build it the right way. Does that make sense? Like, the code might work fine and do something else. That would be weird and problematic, right? These are code errors. So what's happening here is there's no code, so it's having trouble making a PDF out of no code. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to grab some stuff. I'm just going to grab, like, all this junk. It's not the whole syllabus, but it's some of it. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. We'll go through this in a little more detail in a second. But right now, I just want to see if it works. So I'm going to hit go. And now it's saying, oh, you guys see the one that's scary in there?
Fatal error.
Yeah, the fatal error occurred is probably a bad one. Let's see, what's it complaining about? Emergency stop. Oh, gosh. It's not even really complaining about anything specific. Okay, let me go through and see what's in here. So there's a statement about a document class. I'm just going to have to trust that's set up right at the moment. You guys with me? What's that probably doing?
It's actually setting up the thing it's trying to
Yeah, it's just kind of a setup phrase, right? It's like, this is the way this thing's going to work. There's a use package. Oh, what is that probably telling it to do? The use part should be pretty easy, right?
Use the
Like,
package hyperref.
Yeah, apparently there's a thing called a package that this thing wants to use, and it's called hyperref. What that's going to do in here is that's going to add a little bit of knowledge to the compiler. It's going to be like, hey, now you should know how to do hyperlinks, right? And then there's some setup stuff for hyperlink stuff. That kind of makes sense, like it follows, right? And then there's something about URLs, and then there's a bunch of, like, what are these doing? Set length, stop margins. Can you guys read this, by the way? I need to make the font bigger. Let's see if I can.
That sets the title, right?
Yeah, so this is setting the length, the top margin, right, is going to be the margin across the top of the page. The text, what does that say? Text height?
Yeah.
The font size.
That's kind of setting how much text is going to go on the page, right? And then there's some other stuff about margins and whatnot. There's a style sheet that's empty, whatever. Oh, begin document. Right? What's that signaling?
I think it's signals the start of the document.
Yeah. So the other stuff above it is probably kind of general setup stuff. And then the document starts from here. Right? So these are things I'm actually going to see. And the other ones are things that are going to change the style of what's happening in the document. Then we're beginning to center things. What does that do?
Does that center the font, like the text?
Yeah, it centers the text, right? That's like a center line, right? And then there's some stuff here. So what's this stuff say? There's a tab, call, sep. I have no idea what that does. Right? That's fine. Sometimes you don't know what a line does. Totally cool. Happens all the time. What's this stuff? Large.
Size of something.
That probably makes things large. Like, big stretch on that one, right?
It's a formatting stack. Same.
Yep, and then we have a text BF. I don't know what that does yet. But then there's like, oh, that's like the title of the course, right? In there?
Yeah.
So probably that's going to kind of make my title. It's going to make it large and whatever BF is. And then there's a V space. Vertical space. Nice, dude. Good work, Adam. And then there's some stuff with a BF. Oh, that's probably going to be a similar thing to the text BF, right? And then there's some stuff about what time. Oh, and that's where we are right now. Right? Okay, so how do I get this sucker working? Like, yeah, it seems like there should be a finish, right? You guys see the end of the center right here? So what else got started that didn't get ended?
Document.
Yeah, the document never got ended. Let me just throw that in here and see if it works. Oh, end, right? And then, yeah, it's probably hard to see up there, but these aren't parentheses, they're curly braces. You should probably copy the same formatting. Right, so document. And let's hit go and see if it works.
0 error.
Victory is mine. 0 errors. Now let's see if it actually did what it was supposed to do. So if I open up the document, I have here, what the heck? I have here CCTPG, stupid alphabet soup, 5, which I hope is the class you all think you're signed up for. Introduction to Programming, Spring 2018, and then section number, and I assume you guys all know what time the class is. There's a strong survivorship bias here because you all are here, and whatever student doesn't know what time the class is
Probably
not here. And we're in Fur 1. All the students who didn't know that this class was in Fur 1 are
Not here.
also not here, right? Okay, so let's go grab another chunk of code. So I copied all that stuff.
Where was the underline?
Oh, this thing? That line there? Let's go
The
see.
part?
So, let's see, it was after the room, right?
Rule.
Yep, that's this rule part. So that's how you make a line in LaTeX. A horizontal line you can make with the rule command. In other programs, you might use other commands. Does that make sense? But the basic idea here is that there's some language that you feed to the compiler, and then you push go, and then something occurs based on the language that you fed the compiler. You guys all with me that that's kind of what programming is and does? So you're going to do this over the course of the semester in probably, well, in 2 or maybe 3 languages. If you get really slick by the end of the semester, you might write in 4. Okay? But this one will not be one of them. This will just be something I use occasionally to typeset, like your tests, right? I might ask you to interpret some of this language, like what does this section of code probably do? But what I'm expecting there is an educated guess, not an absolute no. Is cool with that? Okay, so next thing's next. Let's go look at our next block of stuff. Let's see, I'm going to take this stuff. P.S. The thing I'm modeling here, where I'm kind of copy and pasting code out of a file, right? I just have a text file with code in it. This is something you do when everything is real bad broken. Right? When something is really badly broken, oftentimes you can take all the code out, put it in a separate file, and then isolate pieces of it to see which ones are working. And then when you introduce the one that's broken, it'll stop working, right? You see that? So I'm going to give you a slicker way to do that later with commenting. But for right now, this is a method that you could use. So I'm going to hit go, and we're going to see what happens. Let's look at what we had here. So we had some kind of set length and some kind of whatever the hell renew command array stretch. I don't even know what that means.
It looks like it's commented.
Oh, what does that mean, Chris? It's commented.
It means that when the compiler runs through the code, it's not going to include those lines when it's compiling the information.
Yeah, you guys see that? That line's kind of lightly grayed out, right? Which is telling the compiler to ignore it. What's the part that's graying it out there?
Percent.
Yeah, maybe the percent. So, oh, yep. So if I want to stop a line from executing, you just put a percent in front of it. That character is going to vary, right? Like, depending on what program you're in, that character might be different, but there's almost always a comment character. So those just aren't doing anything, right? They're commented out. And then this other stuff, what's a v-skip probably do?
Vertically skip 2 branches.
It probably pops down the page a little bit. How is that different than a... Where did our other one go? We had a v space somewhere, right?
Yeah, right there.
Right here. So how's the v-skip different than the v-space?
Maybe the V space is like a distance from the very top of the page.
Could be. I have no idea.
2 inches.
I literally do not know. I wrote this piece of code. I don't know. Right? So I keep this in here as a lesson that I want to highlight. Sometimes you use a command and you don't know what it does. That is kind of okay. I would spend some time involving your curiosity and try to figure it out. That said, you all have deadlines, right? If you need to get your piece of code written and you don't know what a part of it does, that's okay by me as long as you're willing to admit that you don't know what it does. Cool? Okay, so this stuff is probably going to put in some text with, what's no indent probably do?
No indent.
Keeps it from indenting. What's the text BF part probably do? Did you guys catch what? Let me look. So if I look at the file, which part was in the text BF?
Boldface.
Yeah, it's probably a boldface, right? So I'm Joe. My office in Sequoia 103. This is my email address. That's my extension to my office. If you email me, it pops to my phone. I'm a millennial. I get emails on my phone. I answer them most of the time. If I don't email you back, it's because I'm sleeping or out of cell service or ignoring you. I will usually email back a, hey, I got your email, and I'm thinking about it, if I'm thinking about it. If I'm ignoring you, don't take it the wrong way. Sometimes it's just that I'm a jerk. Oh, actually, I need to put that in here. So I'm going to copy one of these sections, right? So, like, I'm going to copy the instructor section, and I'm going to warn you about something I do. So I feel like it's important that you know that I have resting jerk face. Joe looks... I probably shouldn't use the word pissed in my syllabus. Angry, and condescending and arrogant most of the time. You can't help it. It's just his face. Okay?
Arrogant needs that.
Yeah, there's
Oh, yeah. And, oh, look, there's actually I could be an Argonaut. That's totally similar, but different. Okay, so I discovered last semester that I should probably warn you all about this. I have resting jerk face. I'm sorry. If it seems like I'm ticked at you, I'm not. Also, don't take me seriously. You take me seriously all the time, you're probably wrong 85% of the time. Okay. I can't help the tone of my voice often sounds really, really serious. If I tell you, that's real bad, broke, you should probably just quit. I don't mean that you should quit, right? I just mean that, like, that's badly broken. We should think hard about where to go from here, right? So please, if it seems like I'm doing any of these things, say so or ask if I'm serious. Right? Like, I'm fully willing to acknowledge that this is the way I come off and I would like to work on that, so help me out a little bit. If it sounds like I'm really, really serious about something, please just ask. I have students go home and panic, and it's like they'll come back 2 days later with this like piece of code that they've clearly spent 4 days working on because I made some off-the-cuff comment about how it could be slightly better. And really that's just like me musing to myself like, oh, if I had all the time in the world, this code could be just a little bit better by rewriting it entirely. And the student goes home and does it? Like, no. Why? Okay, cool. Clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Also, this is a conversation. Feel free to talk. I'm serious about that one.
So,
Okay.
I'm curious, why can that program stay open, the results stay open, the PDF file itself?
That's a good question. This PDF reader is specially created to refresh with compile. If I did this with Adobe Acrobat, Adobe locks the file down, and so you can't write on it.
Okay.
So I'd show you all sorts of other errors in LaTeX, but I don't want you guys to learn LaTeX, so. Cool. Sometimes that happens. We'll find that occasionally that file permissions are a thing. Hopefully not so much in this class, but in other programming classes, file permissions get to be a really big deal. So contacting me, shoot me an email if you can't find me. I will guarantee that I'm in my office during my office hours. If I don't seem to be there, it's probably that I stepped across the hall or something. Shoot me an email that says, Joe, where are you? I'm standing in front of your office. And those ones I email back right away. Those will be, oh crap, I forgot I had a meeting. Sorry, my bad. I'll see you in a minute. Right? Okay. Other than the stated office hours, you can swing by my office anytime. I'm often in there. I'm also often in the math lab messing around with the 3D printers. So if my office door is open and I'm not in it, check the math lab. Cool. All right. Oops. Next. Big chunks of stuff. Let me throw this in here and we'll see what it does. Oh, wow. That one looks complicated, right? What is that? That looks terrifying. Okay, whatever. Let's try it. Just from looking at this, can you guess what this does? There's something centered, right? And then there's a whole bunch of stuff that looks like it ought to go into a table. So guess what? It's going to make a table.
Grading table.
Yeah, it's going to be a grading table, right? So if we go look at it, we have, textbooks. There are 2 extremely optional textbooks. You probably don't need a book. most of what we're going to do is the modern thing that I'm sure you all will be perfectly familiar with, which is if you get stuck, you
Google.
frickin' Google it. Right? What?
Use Bing.
No. No, you don't use Bing. Not in my site. If I catch you using Bing, I will take points off your final. Okay. There's no prerequisite for this class. If you have just a touch of math, that's helpful. Can I see a show of, like, I've done some algebra stuff before? Most of you guys? How many of you felt like you were bad at that? Okay, cool, good. If I catch you guys a little bit, if I catch you unaware, right? If I start doing some algebra thing or some trigonometry thing or something and you don't get it, say so. I'll give you a short refresher, no problem. That said, there shouldn't be a ton of math, but depending on what you try to do, sometimes there can be a huge amount of math. Right, so some of the students in the past have made really cool programs that did really cool stuff that was really, really math heavy. Like I had a couple students doing vector calculus. So if you don't have to do that, right? But run your projects by me if you are wondering how much math they take. Okay, I'm very willing to tell you. So here's our grade table, right? Usual. Points in the class will be based mostly on projects. So the majority of the points in here will be based on the 2 projects that I'm going to ask you to do. The first one is going to be design a game and processing, telling you that today. The second one will be write a piece of code that does something cool using probably Arduino. Okay. I'll give you more details on the final assignment later. For right now, the first one that you need to be aware of is that it'll show up at the midterm, and that'll be your first project. Oh, and I have points backwards. Ah, stupid. I screwed this up because I just told you that the majority of your points are on the projects, right? And then this project's 50 points and that project's 50 points, and the final's 100 points. That's not the majority, right? Okay, so let's fix that. I want to change the final to be 50 points and the last project to be 100 points. Oh, that's not good at all. That's 5,100 points. That's probably way too many. Best you do well on that. Okay, cool, fixed. Oh, and labs and assignments, right? Those are going to be little things I give you over the course of the semester. You are more than welcome to use code from the assignments in your projects. Right? So if you build your assignments right, you can almost be done with your project by using the assignments. Or by using code snippets from it. Right? The labs are the thing we do on Thursday afternoons. Those will be similar to the assignments. Sometimes I give you a more structured lab. Oftentimes I give you something a little bit like an assignment and I expect you to work on it then. Cool? That's so that I can help you when it gets hung up. All right. Uh-oh. We don't have anything else. What else do we need? We need this stuff. I'm just going to grab all this junk. I'm bored of making a syllabus now. Who else is bored about hearing about the syllabus? Really? Cool. You're all liars. Okay. So there are videos. That's videos recorded on this. There are, in fact, a ton of videos from last semester that are already up on the YouTube channel playlist, on the YouTube playlist for this class. If you click this link, it will actually go to the math department channel. Here. Sure. I trust myself. Probably didn't do any malicious things. Okay, if you go into the playlists, there is someplace in here a Introduction to Programming playlist, which has 104 videos in it. You could sit at home and watch this entire class in the next 2 days if you wanted to. That said, some of the stuff in the videos is a little more complicated than the stuff we're going to do this semester, right? So if you get hung up or you miss a day or something, browse through the videos, see if you can find the thing we talked about. I'm going to add every day the new videos to the end of that playlist. Okay? So you could miss a day and just watch the videos. That said, it's helpful if you come in, right? So that we can chat. But you could certainly just watch the videos. Cool? Questions? Thanks? Okay. Good deal. All right. Blah, blah, blah. Stuff about if you can't come to class or whatever, you can get the videos. Assignments. The relevant thing about assignments is you can ask questions about the assignments during class. You can come by my office during or after office hours. You could grab another student in the class and ask them about it. You can go to the AAC. I think they have a tutor available for this class, but I'm not totally sure. I don't know if Ben works in there anymore. I'm going to try to make sure that... He does?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ben at least has office hours in the AAC where he can answer some of your programming questions. When all else fails, Google it. If you don't understand the answer that Google gives you, write me an email. Let's see. Oh, please don't write me an email with little tiny code snippets. If you email me about a program, attach the whole thing. Right? Because sometimes it's not the error that's being kicked by the line. Like the compiler will say, you have an error on line 47. And so you'll email me line 47. But the thing that's causing the error is on line 46. Right? Or it's at the top. Or it's somewhere else. Right? So please email me the whole piece of code. You may use Stack Exchange or Google or the processing IDE or the textbooks examples or whatever for completing assignments. If you copy and paste code, I want to see an attribution. I'll show you how to do that when we start coding a little bit, but I want to hear from you that you copy and pasted code, and I want a location that you got it from. Cool? So, and that should not be a broad, I got this from Stack Exchange. That should be a link to the question. Right? Or what?
Like a works cited.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a works cited. I don't care if you take code from the internet. I want you to do that, but I want you to tell me when you do. Cool? Yeah. That's partly so that I can figure out what you broke with it later. There's 2 projects, blah, blah, blah. If you make your projects the right way, you can use the final project you can use part of the midterm project to make part of the final project. That's tough, and it takes a lot of foresight. I wouldn't advise trying to do that, but you could. Okay. You can stack your project with another course as long as you get permission from the other course's instructor. So if you want to try to hit a bio assignment by writing a simulation of some life form or whatever, feel free, but make sure you clear it with them first. Cool. Topics covered, blah, blah, blah. This is a little bit, we're going to write some code and we're going to get better at writing code. By the end, we won't be expert programmers, but we'll be a darn sight better than we were when we started. If you want to talk to me about DSPS stuff, please do. There's course objectives with stuff and lab objectives with stuff that we'll do. Cool. I'm going to post this to Canvas so you can look at it. Broadly, we're going to spend the first 2/3 of the semester talking about processing stuff and the last third talking about Arduino stuff. You guys know what an Arduino is? Anybody not? Speak now or hold your peace.
I do not. Not really. I've heard it before, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, an Arduino is a little tiny computer. It's about yay big. And what an Arduino is good for is hooking up little bits of electronics to a little computer and then writing some code for the little computer.
Okay.
So we're going to use them to make things like push the button, the LED comes on. Wave your hand at the motion sensor, the LED comes on. Wave your hand at the motion sensor, the motor turns. Right? Stuff like that. So your final project could be something like, well, the dumb one that I've been wanting to make for a long time is a thing to text me when the garage door is left open. Right? This shouldn't be that hard. It just needs a sensor to check whether the garage door is open, and then an interface to the wireless at my house, and then a way to send a text message. Even if I just got it to light up an LED in the house, that would be terrific. Right? Green is the door is closed, red is the door is open, so I don't leave my garage door open for days.
This would be really hard. You need to interface with like, or
Arduino is really slick, and this is not that hard.
okay.
Harder would be doing something like...
What is it, the project?
No, that one's actually pretty chill. We have the code written for that one. It's just a matter of putting the hardware together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'll show you guys the code for the weather sensor project when we get to the Arduino stuff. But these things are not terrifically hard.
I was thinking of like if you did like a fire alert system where you have these little things just spread across area, and then each one, whenever there's heat around it, like.
Yeah, so the hard thing about getting remote sensor packages to work, where you like build a bunch of little sensor packets and stick them all over the place, is not getting the sensor packets built, it's getting them to talk to something.
Yeah, signal reception issues.
Well, you need some kind of a radio, right? And then you need to understand not only Arduino code, but also radios, which is a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But it's not impossible, right? It's doable. And we have some hardware for that and some little robot kits that we'll play with later. So there's that stuff that we're going to do. Cool? Okay. End of syllabus. Questions, concerns, things on syllabus? Do you all understand exactly how you'll be graded? Clear as mud? Good? Yes? Okay.